This type of offence has to be sanctioned by the community and the courts. By the community, in the sense that they show their dissatisfaction in the way that women are treated, and by the courts in imposing appropriate sentences for these type of offences. The court has to exercise its discretion in this regard with diligence before the community take the law into their own hands. As far as the count of murder goes, it is a heinous crime. This court would like to describe it as a crime of no return. The deceased had a right to life, a constitutional right to life. And you had no right to the possessor of her life. A person's life is without doubt the most important asset that the person has. If a person loses his life, he has nothing. In this case, the deceased has nothing, thanks to you. You have taken that possession away from her and nonchalantly carried on with your life as if nothing was wrong. You kept up with this facade until it finally caught up with you. You did not disclose or take the court into account as to why you killed the deceased. But for whatever reason it was unjustified. The impact of this crime on the family of the deceased was obvious for everyone to see. I will again refer to the mother of the deceased a bit later. The sister of the deceased was distraught to such an extent that she broke down in the witness stand and found it difficult to testify at times. You kept everyone close to her guessing about her whereabouts and kept your dark secret to yourself. In your action of deception, you kept the whereabouts of the deceased to yourself. And you kept everyone under the impression that you were also searching for her. The court cannot describe you in any other way than a devil in disguise. One gets the impression that you thought that your riches would get you everywhere, but it got you nowhere. The deceased was a vibrant young lady with a life still ahead of her. According to the evidence of the first state witnesses, she cared for the community and specifically abused women. It is ironic that you, or your abusiveness towards her, a person that she loved, led to her death. She did not deserve to perish at your hands in the way that she did. Before you killed her, you apparently assaulted her on many occasions. And you ultimately have been charged for this one offense which you are now have to be punished for. It is unclear why she was in your apartment when she met her untimely death. Whatever that reason might be, men who abuse the rights of women should be punished severely. And it is difficult to show sympathy towards such a person. You ultimately afforded the deceased no mercy and no sympathy. By saying that, the court does not overlook its duty to blend its sentence with a measure of mercy. Your cold-heartedness towards the deceased is evident from your conduct after you killed her. The court has already referred to this in its main judgment. You knew full well where her body was, yet you kept everyone guessing and feeding them lies. On the other hand, you went on with your life as if nothing was wrong and nothing happened. It seems that you even arrived at your apartment with another lady on 10 May when the police met you there and you were arrested. As far as the attempt to defeat or obstruct the course of justice, you have attempted to defeat or obstruct the course of justice in a very serious matter. Your advocate did, in his address, concede that you were actually guilty to this offense. In the main judgment, it was also referred to the consequences of this type of offense. the cause of a death could not post-mortem be established. And it was left to the court to make such a finding on the circumstances which were placed before court. The administration of justice is there to serve everybody and does not take kindly to any attempt to defeat or obstruct it. In sentencing you, the intention is not only to punish you for what you had done, but also to serve as a warning to others that this type of conduct, and I'm stressing abusive conduct towards women, will not be tolerated in our society. As far as the interest of society is concerned, no sentence that the court will impose today will bring back the deceased to life. She is now gone forever, thanks to you. The sentence can only, amongst others, serve to punish you for what you had done, and to serve as some kind of comfort for a loved ones that you have been sentenced to a proper one. In saying that, the court does not lose out of sight that the ultimate discretion to impose an appropriate sentence lies with the court. It should not subject itself to the wishes of the community, although the interest of society is an important requirement in sentencing an offender. By sentencing an offender to the community, that their interests are also important. And that their rights will be appropriately addressed. There's no rights anymore. You've taken that away from her. Her memory will still live on, however. And the community has a right to know that she did not die in vain. She died for the rights of abused women. And abused women have to be protected against abuse of men like you. The court thinks that it would not be inappropriate to call you a person that gives men a bad name. If one looks at your actions beforehand and afterwards, the court has no doubt that you are a danger to society. I say this in view of the callous way in which you killed the deceased and then trying to cover it up with deceptions and lies. Your actions have also had a serious effect on the life of the mother of the deceased. It seems from the evidence, which was not challenged, that they were a close-knit family and they care for each other. She described the pain that she had to go through since the deceased died and still on an ongoing basis. You've shown no remorse at all. Even in evidence today, you try to avoid responsibility. In your attempt to escape responsibility, you maligned the deceased and attacked the character. You even attacked her father, and in your statement that you had made, accused him of abusiveness towards her. This allegation was refuted by the deceased sister. You deserve nothing less than a harsh punishment. No other sentence than imprisonment would be appropriate. Any other sentence would not serve the interests of society, the seriousness of the offences, or your interest. For you, it cannot be business as usual anymore. You caused an imbalance in the scale of justice, and that imbalance must now be corrected by imposing an appropriate sentence. The court must remind you that a person's life is not cheap. To take a life comes at a high price. And you will now have to pay that price. The court has no doubt that you will now, from now on, be an outcast in the community. In the court's opinion, there is no mitigating factors at all which can be considered in your case. Except to refer to the fact that you are still a young person and that you are a first offender. Having regard to all the factors which I've mentioned here, the court is of the opinion that the following would be an appropriate sentence. And I take into account the cumulative effect of these sentences. For the assault charge, you are sentenced to 5 years imprisonment. For murder, you are sentenced to 30 years imprisonment. For the attempt to defeat or obstruct the course of justice, you are sentenced to 4 years imprisonment. In the interest of mercy, the court orders that 2 years of the 5 years on count 1 and 4 years on count 3 run concurrently with a sentence on count 2. Your effective sentence is therefore 32 years imprisonment. Your advocate had nothing to say in regard to section 12.1 of Act 60 of 2000. Therefore, in terms of that section 12.1 of Act 60 of 2000, the court does not order otherwise, which means that you are now automatically unfit to possess a firearm. Do you understand? I do not have to explain the accused's right to appeal because he has a legal advisor.